a quick revisit, what I was doing is that I have this data set to investigate because of the lockdown, people's engagement with online platform, especially I focused on Google search and YouTube, underwent notable changes. So I want to know what aspects of individual lives during the lockdown are reflected in their Google search and YouTube engagements. There are, like, for example, academics, like, remote learning, entertainments, their living environments during the pandemic, financial status, and mental health and well-being. So the data I have concretely are part of it is the online data, which is just the Google search and YouTube history from 51 participants on the U of R campus. And I also have several survey questions that designed to ask for their living environments, their receptions on online learning, diets, sleeping patterns, alcohol and recreational drug usage, and their financial status. So I processed the online data. Very simple processing is just like labeling them with a unified set label defined by Google, and I have time-stamped all the activities. So for today's presentation, I only have 10 minutes, so I will mainly focus on online learning, some alcohol and drug usage, and then the financial status. Okay. So first, remote learning. 39 out of the 51 students that I recruited self-reported that they are not comfortable with remote learning. Okay, 32 of them indicated that they were having trouble to concentrate on remote lectures, and 36 of them stated that they are worried about the lecture quality and have to rely on external materials. So the question is that, are these situations reflected in their online engagements? There are two important aspects that I took to approach this problem. So first, it's just the two labels. What time did all these online activities happen? What are the categories? And most importantly, how well time plus the category of the online activities tell us about their situation on remote learning. So here's what I did. First, the left part is a pseudocode and the right part is kind of an idea for you to get. I don't want to get into too technical, so I'll try to be as intuitive as possible. So for each participant P and for each category C, I obtain the distribution, normalized distribution of what is the normalized time distribution of all the activities from P that belongs to C. For example, I have the category C of sports. So like let's just say for me, when did all my sports online activities happen over the 24 hours? So if you look at the right side, though this is not the one that I obtained, but it's just for illustration. The x-axis is the timestamp. There are 24 beings representing 24 hours. And the y-axis is the percentage of activities belongs to category C. So a very intuitive example would be someone always wake up early and then read news. So you will probably see a peak, a local maximum at around 8 a.m., 9 a.m. So in the figure, the illustration here, there are two peaks, right? So probably for the same category, large amount of activity happened in the morning and then it disappears and then happen again in the afternoon. Basically, this is what I want to obtain for each of the category in the online activities. And specifically, I obtained, like, after I have this histogram, the empirical histogram, I run a Dirichlet clustering on it. Again, no technical details, but it's just that with this Dirichlet clustering, I can obtain a mean and a variance for each of the mixture component. So here there are two peaks. So there are two means and two variance. I use Dirichlet because it doesn't constrain. As long as you give a prior, it doesn't constrain how many clusters you will have. But yeah, anyway, like for each category, I will have several mixture components, and each component has a mean and variance. That's it. Okay, so now here's the interesting part. Okay, so let me explain this figure a little bit. This figure is summarizing over all the participants that were struggling with online learning reported in their survey. Okay, and it's a polar system where the angle represents the mean of each mixer component, and it's scaled by the 24 hours. So if one of the mixture peak, like I show here, lays in 8 a.m., it will have an angle of 8 a.m. around here. So and the radius is the inverse of the variance, which is the precision of each mixture component. So the larger the radius, the sharper the distribution, the more concentrated to the mean of the distribution. The smaller the radius, the distribution, the mixture component is more flattened out. It's sharp, it's not sharp, it's flattened out. Okay, so the red dots are those belongs to entertainment online contents, which includes films, animation, music, gaming, and sports. The blue dots, they are reference science, especially those YouTube lectures. And the green dots are the rest of the categories, like news, general queries, like plane tickets, plane tickets, and everyday utilities and health. So I'll just pause for like 30 seconds or like 1 minute, see anyone has like insights on this one or question on this one. Because this might not be quite intuitive, but just question or like if you find anything interesting.
So with the red dot, that's like in between 12 and 3, because its radius is really long, have a very narrow standard deviation and be like centered around the mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. So if you look closely and think about what they complained about online learning is that they are always getting distracted, right? So you can see like all the blue dots, they almost lie on the same angle with another red or green dot, which implies, during their consuming of the academic contents, there's always some entertainment that is interrupting, because they are laying on the same angle. And to make this statement more rigorous, I compare their radius plot after the lockdown with those before the lockdown. So if you look at the one before the lockdown, you can see like, first for all the blue ones, before the lockdown, the concentration is much stronger and it's not spread out. But after lockdown, all the education activities, they are spread out and there are multiple centers identified by the Dirichlet clustering. And you can also see like there's almost no blue and red align on the same angle, which means they don't occur at the same time mostly. So I think this is one way of capturing why the students would complain that their productivity was not good. They were distracted from online learning, and they rely more on external materials because there were only 2 blue dots before the lockdown, but there were 4 blue dots identified in the clustering algorithm after the lockdown. Okay, so that's the first part. And then I also looked at alcohol and recreational drugs. For all the students who reported increasing usage, their online history reflects such behavior. So that's pretty simple. I extract a set of keywords related to alcohol and recreational substance. And then I calculate the word frequency for these keywords for each participant. And I just run a vanilla t-test. The continuous dependent variable is the word frequency. And there's the categorical independent variable, which is the group separation of reported or did not report reported or did not report increase in alcohol usage. There's a typo, yeah. But the result is that it's a significant result. The group separation between increased alcohol usage or did not increase alcohol usage is strongly correlated with if there's such keyword appeared in their search history and YouTube history. And I also look similarly, I also look at financial status, which is like people might report that they lost their financial aids, their job or intern were canceled, these kind of hardship due to COVID-19. So I just get 2 histograms representing the top 5 online categories for each of the group. The left one is those who are not worried about financial status, and the right one is those who are worried about financial status. So clearly you can see finance disappeared in the left figure, but appeared as the third one on the right figure. And education is ranked higher for those who are worried about their finance status. There are some more complex interaction, but I think my time's up. So like the complex interaction is based on some previous study I found, is that people with greater like perceived social support, they reported less alcohol consumption during COVID-19. And all these data I have, I can kind of verify their previous result. And it is indeed verified in the factorial ANOVA that I run. So yeah, I guess that's it. Yeah.